A single gunshot rings out, marking the beginning of a desperate mission. The man pulling the trigger is Na Yan. His eyes, cold and unwavering, are fixed on his target. The bullet finds its mark. A portly man in a fine suit, Chairman Cao Su, stumbles back, a fatal wound blooming on his chest. Panic erupts. Bodyguards rush to their fallen boss, shouting his name in disbelief, while others immediately return fire on the assassin. Though his mission was a success, Na Yan pays the ultimate price. A volley of bullets rips through him. As Na Yan lies bleeding out, he looks at his enemy with satisfaction. He tells the dying chairman that in death, everyone is equal, and that he will die at the hands of a nobody. Cao Su is dead. All his nation-rivaling wealth couldn't save him from a single bullet. With his last breath, Na Yan declares his revenge for his parents complete. But as life fades, he can't help but question why fate was so cruel to him, taking everything he held dear. He reaches for the light, his spirit screaming in defiance. He refuses to accept this end. He will not resign himself to this fate. As his body falls into an endless abyss, his consciousness clings desperately to life. Then a flicker, a sliver of light appears in the darkness as an eye begins to open. Na Yan's eyes snap open, wide with shock and confusion. He finds himself lying in a bed, not in a pool of his own blood, but completely unharmed. He sits up abruptly, his mind racing. He clearly remembers being gunned down by Cao Su's bodyguards. How could he be alive? Looking around, an impossible realization dawns on him. This is his old, cramped apartment from his student days. Could he have been reborn into the past? A news report on the small TV catches his eye. It's about the explosive launch of the immersive VR MMO, Conviction. He stares at the screen, his eyes widening. Conviction's servers had just opened. This confirms it. He really came back. He picks up a dusty picture frame, staring at his younger self as he reintroduces himself to the world. The photo is of his parents, a bittersweet memory of a happier time. He begins to reminisce. Back then, his parents traded strategic metals at the border, earning a massive fortune when the state bought them at a huge markup. With that capital, his father started a smelting company, and their family became wealthy almost overnight. They were swimming in money, living a life of luxury, but the good times weren't destined to last. When he was 25, Cao Su's Century Financial Group targeted his father's business. The friends his father had trusted were all bought off, turning on him in an instant. The company collapsed and went bankrupt. His father, unable to bear the failure, took his own life, and his mother died soon after of a broken heart. He was left all alone. Looking at his reflection, he admits that the inherited wealth had made him lazy, causing him to waste his life. It was only after losing everything that he chose a final suicide run to drag Cao Su down with him. But now the heavens have given him a second chance. His eyes burn with a new fire as he clenches his fist, vowing that this time he won't lose a single thing. He knows exactly where to start. The game Conviction was a cross-era phenomenon that would change the world, attracting countless financial groups. It was the very foundation upon which Cao Su's empire was built. The game quickly became humanity's second world. And in his past life, Na Yan wasn't just a player. He was a legendary level 180 great thief. He grabs his phone to check the date. It's July 25th, 2025. Conviction has only been open for 7 days. A wave of relief washes over him. He can still make it. This is the perfect chance for a comeback. He calculates that at this early stage, the highest level player on the leaderboards would only be around level 5. With his memories of the future, catching up will be easy. He remembers that at this point in time, his younger self still had some savings. He checks his account and finds just enough money to buy an entry-level gaming helmet. His hand tightens on his shirt, his knuckles turning white. He thinks of Cao Su, the man who destroyed his family, and a cold fury settles in his heart. With newfound purpose, he gets dressed and heads out. This time, he is changing everything. Later that night, the light in his small apartment stays on, a beacon of his resolve under the full moon. Helmet in hand, he knows he's starting 7 days behind everyone else. But he's not worried. With his knowledge, he will crush every rival and stand at the very summit of conviction. Without a moment's hesitation, he puts on the helmet, ready to dive back into the world he knows so well. His consciousness fades from the real world, and a system window appears before him. He is entering conviction. The first step is character creation. He's presented with a map of the world and prompted to select his starting country. The world of conviction is split into three major factions. The first is the lawful good, righteous faction, which holds both the Viridian and Satrine empires. The Viridian Empire is a human nation, ruled by a council of elders, home to classes like clerics, mages, and assassins. The Satrine Empire is a tribal alliance of proud dwarves, fierce orcs, and elegant elves. Next is the lawful evil dark faction, consisting of demon and undead tribes ruled by powerful dictators. Finally, for players who prefer a more peaceful route, there's the neutral faction, which includes races like the giant tribes. Nyan doesn't need to think twice. In his last life, he chose the Viridian Empire's Gale Thief class. After pouring years of blood, sweat, and tears into it, he knows every single skill and quest by heart. Choosing it again is the only way to maximize the advantage his rebirth has given him. With absolute confidence, he makes his choice. The system confirms he has selected the Gale Thief class and will be born in the Viridian Empire. With his origin and class set, he is taken to the nomming screen, ready to forge a new legend. He types in his new identity, Nirvana Flame, a name signifying his rebirth from the ashes of his past life. The system confirms his choice. The character Nirvana Flame has been created. He enters the game, materializing in the bustling spawn point of Kalor City, the main hub of the Viridian Empire. As soon as he arrives, a familiar status window appears before him, level 1 thief with 5 available points to distribute. A smile creeps onto his face. That feeling. It's back, and this time he knows exactly what to do. Wasting no time, he immediately allocates his starting points, 3 into strength and 2 into agility. He recalls messing up his build in his past life, wasting precious time. He won't make the same mistake twice. He takes a look around the bustling city square. The teleport point is swarming with new players, all starting their journeys in this new world. He watches other players hawking their wares. One is trying to sell a common dagger for 2 copper coins, claiming it's a huge upgrade over the starter gear. Nyan smirks. He knows that exact dagger sells for a single copper coin in a nearby town. He remembers foolishly falling for that scam in his last life, but not this time. He remembers everything. Just then, another merchant catches his eye. A level 3 paladin named Flying Stone is selling a stealth skill book, shouting for all the rookie thieves to take a look. Other new players grumble about the price. 6 coppers is a fortune for them as they're all broke. But for Nyan, this is a golden opportunity. He walks up to Flying Stone's stall and asks for the price. The paladin grins, confirming the listed price of 6 copper. Nyan's mind races. Stealth is essential for the early game. With it, he can access a hidden chest in the Wild Cat Zone, a level 5 area near Track Town. Since most players are still low-level, the chest should be completely untouched. With a confident smile, Nyan makes an outrageous proposal. He tells Flying Stone to give him the book for free, and in return, he'll reveal a secret farming spot that yields over a dozen stealth books a day. Flying Stone is furious. Seeing Nyan is only level 0, he assumes he's just some nutjob trying to scam him out of a valuable skill book and tells him to get lost. Unfazed, Nyan calmly tells him to hold on. He then reveals that he knows exactly where Flying Stone got the books, by farming fallen shamans in Link Town. Flying Stone is stunned into silence. Nyan presses his advantage, rattling off the exact coordinates of the farming spot, asking, "Am I right?" The paladin breaks into a cold sweat. This stranger knows his secret coordinates. His mind reels at the possibility of farming a dozen books a day. Making a snap decision, he shoves the book into Nyan's hands. It's just 1 book, and if he can really farm 3 a day with the new information, it's a worthy trade. A system window pops up, showing he's trading with Nirvana Flame. With the deal struck, Nyan takes the book. He holds up his end of the bargain, telling Flying Stone the new coordinates near the fallen shaman camp. Flying Stone is overjoyed and gets ready to head out immediately. As he leaves, Nyan makes one last request. The fallen shamans also drop a skill called Owl's Insight, and asks him to mail one if he gets an extra. The paladin readily agrees, promising to send the skill the moment it drops if the new spot works. He then activates his Hearthstone to teleport away. In a flash of blue light, Flying Stone vanishes. Now holding the stealth skill, Nyan's first objective is complete. A faint glow envelops him as he prepares for his next move, cracking open that hidden chest. He makes his way through the city and arrives at Track Town, the closest settlement to his target. He doesn't waste a second. He uses the skill book, and a system window confirms that he has learned stealth, a skill that allows him to enter a concealed state. With a single step, he activates the ability. Dark, shadowy energy swirls around him. He vanishes from plain sight, moving like a ghost through the crowded streets of Track Town. Using his agility, he easily leaps over the town walls, avoiding the guarded gates entirely. He lands silently in the forest outside, already sprinting towards the high-level hunting ground where his treasure awaits. Still under the cover of stealth, he arrives at his destination, the Wildcat Zone. The forest is teeming with danger. Vicious wild cats, ranging from level 2 to level 4, roam the area, ready to pounce on any unsuspecting player. From the safety of the trees, he spots his prize. A silver chest sits on a high branch, surrounded by a patrol of deadly level 5 wild cats. He knows that in Conviction, chests are ranked by rarity, with the loot getting better the higher the rank. The tiers range from common to silver, gold, dark gold, and finally the ultra-rare legendary chests. His eyes lock onto the target. That's it, the hidden silver chest. Its loot is fixed, and once opened, the chest vanishes forever. He breathes a sigh of relief, knowing he was the first to find it. He steels himself for the risk. For a level 0 player like him, entering a level 5 zone is normally a suicide mission. But there's a silver lining. At this level, there's no XP loss upon death. With nothing to lose and everything to gain, he reactivates his stealth skill and prepares to move in. He moves through the undergrowth like a phantom, carefully weaving his way past the prowling cats. He leaps into the branches of the ancient tree, his eyes fixed on the chest. He knows he has to be quick. Stealth only lasts for 2 minutes, and opening the chest takes time. Suddenly, one of the wild cats below stops, its glowing red eyes sensing that something is wrong. It lunges, swiping at the air where Nyan had just been. He knows he can't get too close to the monsters, or his stealth will be broken instantly. He gracefully leaps from branch to branch, using his agility to stay above the confused but agitated cats. He lands silently on the thick branch, right next to his target. Without a moment to lose, he reaches for the chest. The opening chest progress bar appears. His heart pounds in his chest. He forces himself to remain calm, knowing his invisibility could fail at any moment. Perched high in the tree, he works on the lock while the pack of wild cats circles below, growing more restless by the second. Success, with a satisfying click, the chest pops open. The system informs him it took a tense 27 seconds. His eyes gleam with triumph. He pulls out a skill book from the chest. "Got it," he whispers. His path to perfect leveling has just begun. The reward for his gamble is the skill book Vital Strike. It allows him to deal 150% bonus damage on weak point hits. For a thief, this skill is a game changer. The journey to the top starts right here. Everything was going according to plan. Nyan smirked, knowing he had just obtained Vital Strike, a top-tier skill for thieves, right at level 0. With this, he was confident his progress in the early game would be twice as fast. As the skill book vanished, a system notification confirmed he had successfully learned Vital Strike. His plan was now in motion. Just as his stealth effect wore off, 2 massive, red-eyed creatures spotted him from below. But this was exactly what he wanted. Without hesitation, Nyan leaped down into a swarm of giant rats, greeting them with a casual taunt. As he fell, he thanked the confused monsters for guarding the nearby chest, a clear provocation. He knew that dying in Conviction meant losing experience and gear. But as a level 0 player with nothing of value, death was a resource, not a punishment. The system windows appeared one after another. He had died, dropped his worthless starter gloves, and was now being teleported to the nearest town. His plan had worked perfectly. In a flash of light, Nyan respawned in the middle of a bustling town, pleased that he'd secured a free, instant teleport. With the first step complete, his eyes sharpened. It was time for Phase 2 of his master leveling plan. He found himself in the main square, surrounded by countless other players starting their own adventures, completely unaware of the advantage he already possessed. Nyan gazed over the starting village. He knew he needed to make some quick cash. Luckily, his memories from his past life told him exactly where to find a secret quest. He first approached Hunter Klaus, accepting a simple quest to collect 20 giant rat skulls. Next, he visited Farmer End, picking up another mission to kill 50 of the same silver-gray rats. Just as he planned, after accepting the first two quests, Apothecary Or approached him. Because Nyan had fulfilled the hidden prerequisites, a secret third quest was triggered. This was a secret mechanic only he knew about. With a confident smile, Nyan accepted the hidden quest to collect 21 giant rat tails, perfectly aligning with his other two tasks. Out in the fields, the paw of a creature crept silently through the tall grass. It was a silver-gray giant rat, the very monster he needed to hunt to complete all three of his quests at once. Nyan lunged forward, unleashing Vital Strike. The skill, which didn't even require a dagger, dealt a massive 21 points of damage, far more than a level 0 player should be capable of. The rat collapsed instantly. A skull and a tail appeared as loot, putting him on the fast track to completing his missions. To his surprise, his very first kill yielded a rare gear drop, glowing brightly in the field. The item was a pair of tough leather leggings, common gear but a valuable find for any new player. Nyan immediately recognized its value. Selling these leggings on the auction house would provide the extra copper he needed for the next stage of his plan. But his hunt was just beginning. Soon, he was facing not one but an entire pack of the giant rats. He moved like a blur, chaining vital strikes together, efficiently cutting down one monster after another. It was clear this farming session would be over in no time. His expression was sharp and focused, like a seasoned veteran flawlessly executing a well-rehearsed strategy. For the next hour, he repeated this process without stopping. An hour later, after relentlessly grinding, Nyan returned to the village, his inventory full of the quest items he needed. He turned in all his items, completing the quests for Hunter Klaus, Farmer End, and the hidden one for Apothecary Or. As a reward, he received 34 copper coins and some health potions. Without wasting a moment, he listed the leather leggings he found on the auction house. With his funds secured, he headed straight for the weapon shop. His destination was the town's main weapon shop, the next critical step in his plan. Inside, the shopkeeper gave him a hearty welcome, boasting that his weapons were the best in the land. But Nyan wasn't here to browse. He cut straight to the chase, laying out his very specific requirements. A level 0 crossbow with a minimum attack and fire rate, all for under 40 copper. The shopkeeper grinned, presenting his masterpiece, a rapid-fire hand crossbow. With its triple-shot effect, it was the perfect fit for Nyan's needs, priced at exactly 35 copper. Nyan confirmed the purchase immediately, also buying 9 bundles of 1,000 iron bolts each. The total cost came to 44 copper, almost all the money he had. With his new weapon and a massive supply of ammunition in hand, he left the shop as the owner wished him safe travels. Now fully equipped, Nyan set his sights on his true objective, the Bison Zone. He knew the game had a strict level suppression system. The monsters in the Bison Zone were level 8, impossibly strong for a low-level player. Even high rankers couldn't touch them at this stage. But Nyan was unfazed. He was confident that with his knowledge from the future, he could overcome the massive level gap, even as a level 0 player. He arrived at the Wild Bison Zone. The area was a vast, open plain dotted with herds of high-level monsters and treacherous, rocky cliffs. Nyan carefully made his way through a narrow ravine, heading for a very specific location he remembered. He climbed to a high ledge, reciting a set of coordinates from memory. This was it, the exact spot he was looking for. From his perch, he scanned the fields below and quickly found his target, the zone's boss, the Bison Chieftain. It was a formidable level 8 chieftain rank monster, an enemy that no player should even dream of fighting at this stage of the game. But Nyan was perfectly calm. This spot gave him the perfect angle and distance. The boss was right within his crossbow's range. He took aim and fired, sending a volley of bolts flying toward the unsuspecting boss. The shots landed, but the massive level gap meant most of them missed. Even the ones that hit only dealt a single point of damage. But it didn't matter. He had brought 9,000 bolts with him, fully intending to slowly cheese the boss to death from his safe spot. He continued to fire relentlessly, the tiny damage numbers slowly but surely chipping away at the chieftain's health bar. The boss grew enraged, its health barely dented, unable to retaliate against its unseen attacker. Provoked beyond its limit, the Bison Chieftain let out a roar and charged toward the cliff face in a desperate attempt to reach its attacker. but its attack slammed uselessly against the rock. Yan watched calmly, telling the beast to give up. This was a glitch spot, a place in the terrain confirmed by history where monsters couldn't reach the player. The boss was completely helpless against him. From his safe perch, Yan continued to fire relentlessly. Even though most shots missed, he just needed one to hit every so often, slowly chipping away at the boss's immense health. The air was filled with the sound of thousands of bolts flying through the air, a testament to his unwavering patience. He watched his ammunition count drop from over 8,000 to 6, then 5. It was a long and grueling process. 3 hours later, the Bison Chieftain's health was finally in the red. It let out a final, agonizing roar, its defeat imminent. Yan was sweating, exhausted from the sheer monotony. He had burned through nearly 4,000 bolts and couldn't believe the beast was still alive. With one final shot, a bolt flew true, striking the enraged chieftain right between the eyes. Its health bar finally hit 0. The seemingly invincible boss was defeated by a single level 0 player. The massive creature began to sway, its enormous body losing all strength. With a final, heavy thud, the Bison Chieftain collapsed, shaking the very ground beneath it. A system window exploded in front of Yan. He had killed the Bison Chieftain, earning a staggering 1,800% experience bonus due to the level gap. In an instant, he shot straight up to level 2. His long and patient battle had paid off immensely. He jumped down from the cliff, eager to see what loot the boss had dropped. He couldn't believe his eyes. The boss had dropped a horned dagger, a bronze-grade weapon, an incredibly rare find at this stage of the game. In conviction, gear was ranked from common to legendary. Since elite monsters were so scarce, the drop rate for stat-based gear was less than 1 in 1,000, making every piece a treasure. A bronze weapon alone boasted 20% more attack than common gear, and came with a valuable bonus stat. Yan knew this level 5 dagger was worth a fortune, at least 3 silver coins. But first, he needed to get its unidentified stats revealed. Just then, he got 2 notifications. His leather leggings had sold for 8 copper, and he was receiving a call from a player named Flying Stone, a paladin he vaguely remembered. Flying Stone appeared on the call, ecstatic. He gushed about how the farming coordinates Yan gave him worked wonders, boosting his leveling speed by 50%. He felt like he was ripping Yan off, having only traded a single book for such a great spot. Yan coolly told him not to worry about it, simply asking for a copy of the Owl's Insight skill book if it ever dropped. Flying Stone enthusiastically agreed, then curiously asked how a level 0 player like Yan knew about that spot. Yan gave a simple lie, claiming he had a previous high-level account before re-rolling as a thief. This immediately impressed Flying Stone, who assumed he must have been a top-tier ranker. Changing the subject, Flying Stone asked if Yan's main had ever run the Fallen Shaman camp. He explained that his own team had wiped there multiple times, losing gear and EXP. Sensing an opportunity, Yan calmly offered a full, clear guide for the camp. The price, 2 silver, non-negotiable. Flying Stone was shocked he even had one. Overjoyed, Flying Stone placed his full trust in him, promising to go convince his captain to pay up right away. After finishing the call, Yan refocused on his prize. It was time to get his new dagger identified. He made his way back to Track Town, heading for the appraiser to get his new weapon's stats revealed. Inside, a beautiful elf appraiser with sharp eyes greeted him. He presented the unidentified weapon, asking for her services. The elf appraiser examined the weapon with a knowing smile and quoted the price for her services, a steep 10 copper coins. Yan was surprised by the high fee, but he knew exactly what it implied. In conviction, identification fees were a percentage of an item's value. A 10 copper fee meant the dagger was worth at least 12 silver on the open market. This was a worthy investment. Without a second thought, he handed over the coins and confirmed the identification. The appraiser began her work, channeling a powerful energy that enveloped the dagger in a brilliant, golden light. The results were staggering. The horn dagger was a bronze-grade weapon with a level 0 requirement. It provided a massive plus 18 to his attack stat and an additional plus 5 to strength. Yan was ecstatic. The bonus stat had rolled as plus 5 strength, boosting his damage even further. With base stats nearly 10 times higher than a normal dagger, he knew that with this weapon in hand, he was now practically invincible in the early game. Yan calmly assessed his abilities. With a weapon, a vital strike skill, and stealth, he had the perfect assassin's toolkit. The only thing he was missing was a way to sustain himself through long fights. For thieves, there were two ways to heal: potions or bandaging. Potions were fast but burned through money. But for a reborn player like him, who knew the value of every coin, the choice was obvious. Bandaging was the slow but smart way to go. Before heading out, he stopped by the apothecary. He had a specific plan in mind, and for that he needed 2 minor underwater breathing potions. Inside, the alchemist handed over the goods. But first things first, Yan decided it was time to learn the bandage mastery skill he'd been planning on. With his preparations complete, he set off for his destination, the remote and dangerous Lake Rando. The path to the lake was teeming with monsters. Yan moved like a shadow, taking them down with swift strikes. He knew out in the wild you had to stay sharp, as kill-stealing and arguments could break out at any moment. He finally arrived at the Lake Rando fisherman village. The path led straight through the densely populated area. He knew that taking this place on directly would require a raid team of 1,000 men. For a solo player like him, stealth was the only option. But just as he was about to sneak in, a zone announcement flared to life. The Victorious Return Guild was clearing the area, ordering all non-guild players to leave within 3 minutes. Yan's eyes narrowed. Victorious Return? The name triggered a bitter memory. Just like in his past life, they were arrogant bullies, claiming entire zones for themselves and hunting down anyone who got in their way. He remembered all too well how they had hunted him for months. A fire ignited in his golden eyes. This wasn't just an obstacle, it was a chance for payback. He decided then and there that he would settle the score with them, one piece at a time. Instead of retreating, Yan activated his stealth skill, his body fading into the shadows. He was going to walk right through their front door without them ever knowing. He moved silently through the village, a ghostly blur slipping past the dangerous fishman guards. Suddenly his stealth broke. A fireball erupted in front of him, revealing his position to everyone. He'd been spotted. The blast hit him head-on, knocking him back. A system notification popped up. Another player, Purple Blaze, had attacked him, and self-defense mode was now active. An elementalist from Victorious Return stepped forward, a smug look on his face. He mocked Yan, telling him to get lost. Seeing he was alone, the mage was confident he could handle this himself. Yan dodged another blast. His mind raced. Against a mage, there were only 2 options: close the distance and attack, or run like hell. But running wasn't his style. He knew the mage's pyroblast spell took 2 seconds to cast, plenty of time for a thief like him to close the gap. He charged forward, surprising his opponent. Before the mage could even finish his spell, Yan was already on him, driving a vicious stab right into his chest and wiping out a massive chunk of his health bar. Furious, the mage retaliated, screaming that this spot belonged to Victorious Return and that Yan had a death wish. To keep Yan at a distance, he unleashed a new spell, Ring of Fire, creating a swirling vortex of flames around himself. Yan was caught in the blaze, his health rapidly ticking down from the intense heat. But Yan was prepared. Without missing a beat, he consumed a minor recovery potion, instantly restoring a huge chunk of his health. This was the moment he had planned for. The mage was shocked. He expected his opponent to run, but instead, Yan pushed through the flames and landed another clean hit. The mage screamed in panic, but it was too late. Yan had broken through his defenses and was already in position for the killing blow. Watching Yan burn, the mage frantically calculated their health. He guessed the thief must be on his last breath, while he himself only had 51 HP left. It was a race against time. He just needed to cast one more fireball to secure his victory. The mage, Purple Blaze, shrieked in fury, declaring this was the price for daring to cross the Victorious Return Guild. But his frantic attack was clumsy. Yan sidestepped it with ease. In that brief opening, Yan's dagger began to glow with a deadly red light. He lunged forward, unleashing his own skill, Vital Strike. The blade plunged deep into the mage. Purple Blaze stared in disbelief, his body starting to pixelate. He couldn't understand how a mere level 2 thief could survive his powerful spells. Yan just smirked. As the mage's body dissolved, he finally figured it out, an instant recovery potion. But it made no sense. A solo level 2 player shouldn't have the gold for such a rare item. Yan coolly told him he could ponder that mystery while waiting to respawn. The victory was his. He quickly looted the level 2 bronze staff the mage had dropped. There was no time to celebrate. He knew the rest of the victorious Return Guild would be swarming the area any second. He had to get out of there. Just as he predicted, a cry of alarm went up from the guild members nearby. They'd seen Purple Blaze fall and were now shouting for everyone to catch the killer. Without a second's hesitation, Yan bolted, making a break for the lake shore. The guild's warriors were hot on his heels, one of them taunting him, believing his escape was impossible. One of the fighters, wielding a massive greatsword, swung it down with incredible force, shouting that he'd never get away. But the warrior's flame slash was too slow. Yan dodged it cleanly. The warrior was stunned. He couldn't believe the thief was fast enough to dodge an attack like that. Reaching the cliff's edge, Yan pulled out the underwater breathing potion he'd bought earlier. The guild members behind him realized his plan and screamed for someone to stop him. The warriors desperately used their skills, charging and slashing in a last-ditch effort to intercept him before he reached the water. But in their haste, their coordination fell apart. The charging warriors slammed right into their own shield-bearer who was trying to cut Yan off. Yan glanced back, a faint smile playing on his lips as he watched his pursuers stumble over each other. Their attacks hit nothing but air and rock as he gracefully leaped from the cliff. With a loud splash, he disappeared beneath the waves of Lake Rando. The victorious Return members could only stare helplessly at the water. They cursed in frustration. Without water-breathing potions of their own, they had no way to follow. A woman who seemed to be in charge arrived, demanding to know what happened. One of the warriors reported that their target had escaped into the lake. The leader calmly issued her next order. Find out when Purple Blaze respawns and get the thief's player ID from him immediately. The report came in from the respawn point, relaying the message from Purple Blaze. The mysterious thief finally had a name, Nirvana Flame. As the guild leader on the surface vowed revenge, Yan descended into the quiet depths of the lake. He had made a powerful enemy, but everything was going exactly according to his plan. Finally safe beneath the waves, Yan breathed a sigh of relief. He'd shaken off the victorious Return goons. Now it was time to collect his real prize. He remembered a hidden chest somewhere in these depths. Thanks to his memories, it didn't take long. Tucked away in the seaweed was the hidden treasure he was looking for. Inside, he found exactly what he came for, the fishman's water-repelling pearl, a special item that would let him breathe underwater for a full 30 minutes. It wasn't a particularly rare item, but for his current plan, it was a lifesaver. Just as he pocketed it, a trident shot passed his face. He'd been spotted. He had stumbled right into a fishman den. The creatures were swarming him from all sides. He knew fighting them here in their home turf was suicide. But as he looked up towards the surface, a clever idea began to form. The commotion he caused underwater had alerted the entire fishman tribe on the shore above. Meanwhile, the victorious Return Guild was still cutting a path of destruction through the fishman village, completely unaware of the new threat approaching. Yan swam for the surface, intentionally luring the enraged horde of underwater fishmen right into the path of the unsuspecting guild. From the safety of the water, he watched with a grin as his two groups of enemies clashed. He couldn't help but thank victorious Return for unknowingly clearing a path for him. With the coast now in chaos, he swam towards his true destination, soon arriving at the central lake island. He broke the surface, taking a deep breath of fresh air. His plan had worked perfectly. But just as he did, a sudden scream for help echoed from the island. He turned to see a girl in trouble. He froze, that voice, that pink hair. It was Yao Yao, the holy mage from his old party. He couldn't believe fate had brought them together again so soon. Memories of their past life together flooded his mind. The battles they fought, the quiet moments by the campfire. They had a deep history, and finding her here and now, it felt like destiny. Back in the present, he saw Yao Yao struggling in the water, trying to fend off 3 aggressive water spiders. Without a second thought, he dove back into the water to help her. He closed the distance in an instant, unleashing a vital strike on one of the spiders attacking her. Surprised by the sudden help, Yao Yao quickly recovered and cast her own spell, Holy Judgment, on another spider. His physical strike and her holy magic hit their targets at the exact same moment. It was as if they had been fighting alongside each other for years. Together they made short work of the monsters. Standing on the shore, as the last spider dissolved, she turned to him and gave a simple, heartfelt thanks. He casually replied not to mention it, then introduced himself with his in-game name, Nirvana Flame. She repeated the name, Nirvana Flame, a flicker of recognition in her eyes. The name clicked in her mind, Nirvana Flame, which translated directly to Nyan. As she wondered if it was the Nyan she knew from real life, she formally introduced herself as Yao Yao. A friend request from Nirvana Flame immediately popped up. She smiled, telling him that since he saved her, they should add each other so she could return the favor. With the friend request accepted, a notification confirmed their new connection. Nyan smiled and asked what brought her all the way out to this remote island. Yao Yao explained she was farming the spiders for their water sacs. Coincidentally, Nyan was after a different drop from the same monsters, fine silk. Seeing they had a common goal, he suggested they party up. She readily agreed, and to his surprise, immediately opened a trade window. As a thank you gift, she offered him the fine silk she had already collected. The trade went through, and Nyan found himself with 12 spools of fine silk. At the current market price, that was easily worth 36 copper, a small fortune for a new player. She insisted, saying that 36 copper was a small price to pay for saving her life, especially since she didn't need the silk anyway. Hearing that, Nyan accepted her generous gift. But their conversation was cut short as a monstrous shape burst from the water. It was the Water Spider Lord, a chieftain-level boss. Yao Yao panicked. A chieftain was far too strong for 2 low-level players to handle alone. But there was no time to run. A notification confirmed their party was official and the fight was on. Nyan took the lead, instantly closing the gap and landing a solid vital strike on the boss. Without missing a beat, Yao Yao backed him up, unleashing a powerful, holy judgment of her own. Her holy magic slammed into the giant spider, dealing heavy damage and staggering the beast. The spider retaliated with a vicious swipe, but a quick warning from Nyan gave Yao Yao just enough time to leap out of the way. Switching tactics, Nyan drew his crossbow. He shouted that he would draw the boss's attention, telling her to focus on dealing damage. A volley of bolts struck the Spider Lord's eyes, enraging it and successfully pulling its aggro onto him. Nice, with the boss distracted, Yao Yao seized the opportunity to unleash her most powerful spells one after another. A brilliant beam of holy energy engulfed the Water Spider Lord, dealing a critical blow. The combined assault was too much. The mighty chieftain collapsed and sank beneath the waves, defeated. As the waters calmed, Yao Yao stood in stunned silence. She couldn't understand it. Fighting alongside him felt so natural. They had taken down a chieftain like it was just another weak monster. Their synergy was flawless, as if they had been teammates their entire lives. Nyan noticed her quiet, thoughtful expression and casually asked what was on her mind. Startled, she said it was nothing. She quickly changed the subject, complimenting his incredible skill and asking why a player like him was playing solo. He simply replied that he was used to it. Hearing he was a solo player gave her an idea. With a hopeful smile, she mentioned that her group was preparing to raid the Treant Forest and invited him to join them. Nyan asks about their team's shield warriors, wanting to know their exact stats. Yao Yao tells him they have 2 with 53 defense and 230 HP. He tells her it's not enough. The boss has a hidden critical hit chance that'll one-shot anyone with less than 60 defense. Yao Yao is stunned. She's never heard anyone mention a critical hit chance from the Treant King. She says getting bronze gear to hit 60 defense is just too difficult right now. Nyan offers another way. He takes over as commander for the team. Yao Yao agrees to try and convince the others, even if it's a long shot. The boss goes down, and Nyan moves in to check the loot. He pulls out some fine silk gauntlets, surprising her with his high-level appraisal skill. Since they're bronze-tier mage equipment, he hands them right over to her. The boss also dropped a rare thief skill book called Assassinate. Nyan keeps the skill book and the silk for himself. Yao Yao is thrilled with the haul, not even trying to be polite about taking the gear. Suddenly, a system message pops up. The server is closing for maintenance in 3 minutes. She waves him off, promising to see him next time. Nyan logs off as his character dissolves into pixels. He wakes up in his room, realizing it's already the morning of the second day. He decides that while he's leveling up in the game, his real body needs to stay in shape too. He knows Cao Su will have bodyguards, so he can't afford to be weak this time around. He heads out for a run through the city streets. Suddenly, a truck screeches its tires right in front of him. The impact sends him tumbling onto the pavement. He groans on the ground as someone rushes over to check if he's okay. It's Zai Yao, his desk mate from his past life. She scolds him for being so careless when she sees he's bleeding. She runs back to her car to grab a first aid kit. Na Yan looks at her, remembering how she was destroyed by Cao Su's group in his previous life. Zai Yao carefully bandages his arm, telling him to stop being so rash. He stares at her, thinking about how she hasn't changed a bit. He teases her, asking if he's got her to look after him now. She huffs and walks away, leaving him standing there. As she drives off, she wonders why he seems so much more confident lately. His expression hardens. He knows he has to grow strong in the game to change their fate. His phone starts ringing, and it's his friend Tang Yao calling. Tang Yao screams through the line, demanding to know where he's been for 2 days. Na Yan smiles, glad to hear his best friend is still doing well. He remembers how Tang Yao risked everything to support him in his past life. He also remembers the guy's tragic end in a dark alley, and he's determined to prevent it. Tang Yao catches up to him on the street and grabs him. Tang Yao asks if he's playing the new game, and Na Yan reveals he's already a level 2 thief. Tang Yao brags about being a level 3 mage and drags him toward the PK bar. The PK bar is an entertainment club where players can bet on their own matches. Competitive matches here are always personal, with players betting high-tier gear or cash on every round. Wei Kai mocks Tang Yao as he walks in, asking if he's back to hand over even more of his money. He turns his gaze to Na Yan, sneering at him and wondering if the last beating wasn't enough of a lesson. Tang Yao puts an arm around his buddy, telling him not to worry since he's there to protect him. Wei Kai finds it strange how calm Na Yan is today, wondering if the kid actually found some courage. Tang Yao tells the group to stop talking and get to the pods. The stakes are 200 per round. The match screen lights up, Tang Yao's arcane mage against Wei Kai's berserker. Na Yan knows this is a terrible matchup for a mage, especially against a berserker with a charge skill. The map is a wide-open plain, making it almost impossible for Tang Yao to dodge or find cover. Shifeng approaches Na Yan, taunting him about his friend's losing streak and suggesting they play a round 2. Na Yan agrees, but makes it clear he isn't interested unless they play for a real wager. Shifeng gets heated, putting his entire 700 on the line for a single match. The screen updates for the next duel, Na Yan's Wind Thief against Shifeng's Ranger. The map is a dense bamboo forest, a perfect playground for a thief. Na Yan instantly triggers his stealth skill and disappears from sight. Shifeng scans the area from the trees, trying to find any sign of movement. The Saberman began to get cocky, mocking Na Yan as a coward who only knows how to hide. But Na Yan is already right above him, his presence completely erased by his years of mastery. Shifeng finally looks up, but he's already too late. Na Yan drops down with his blade, catching his opponent completely off guard. The first strike connects, instantly chunking Shifeng's health bar. The Saberman panicked as he realized Na Yan had completely closed the gap and shattered his defenses. He struck back in a desperate frenzy. The blade merely grazed the protagonist's face. Having seen through his opponent's true strength, Na Yan softly whispered, "It's over," before delivering the final, decisive blow. A vital strike hits for 70 damage, finishing the fight in a single flurry. Shifeng's avatar disintegrates into digital fragments, leaving him staring at a defeat screen. The crowd watching the monitors is in shock at how quickly the match ended. Na Yan walks away, thinking that taking on a level 2 rookie felt more like bullying. Shifeng is left reeling, unable to comprehend how simple movements led to such a decisive kill. He takes off his helmet, shivering as he realizes how different Na Yan has become. Wei Kai's lackey stood in dead silence, wondering if this was really the timid kid they used to bully. Tang Yao comes back from his pods looking defeated, having lost 1,200 in his matches. He complains about how the Berserker's anti-magic aura is a hard counter to his mage. Yan corrects him, explaining that the aura only reduces damage a bit and can be timed around easily. Tang Yao looks at his friend in surprise, wondering where he picked up all this advanced knowledge. Yan simply hands over the 700 he just won to help cover his friend's losses. One of Wei Kai's thugs steps forward, shouting at Yan to stop getting cocky. The guy lunges forward with a punch, determined to teach him a lesson right there. But Yan catches the fist midair with effortless precision. He uses the man's own momentum to slam him straight onto the floor. Yan thinks back to his past life, where he practiced combat specifically to deal with people like Cao Su. Tang Yao is left speechless, wondering when his buddy became so formidable in real life. Shifeng and the others back away in fear as their group starts to fall apart. Wei Kai stares at Yan, realizing the kid standing before him is fundamentally different from the one he used to bully. He holds his group back, stopping the physical confrontation to ask if Yan really just defeated one of his lackeys in the game. Yan remains completely unfazed, dismissively calling it a small match and nodding that the opponent was far too weak. Wei Kai mockingly invites him to a round, but Yan makes it clear he isn't interested unless the stakes are high. Wei Kai offers 1,000 a round, but Tang Yao protests, calling it a blatant act of bullying for a level 3 berserker to challenge a level 2 Gale thief. Ignoring his friend's concerns, Yan ups the ante significantly, proposing 3,000 credits for a single round. Wei Kai accepts the challenge, fueled by arrogance and the belief that a miracle is impossible for a player of Yan's level. Tang Yao panics, grabbing Yan and asking where he plans to get that kind of money for such a risky bet. Yan casually reveals he's borrowing the money from him, and despite his fear, Tang Yao decides to risk everything to back his friend. The duel begins as both players materialize in the digital arena, the tension between the Gale thief and the berserker palpable. They are dropped onto a flat grassland map, providing almost no natural cover for a character that relies on stealth. Watching from the sidelines, Tang Yao is filled with dread, knowing how disadvantageous this terrain is for a thief. Wei Kai offers to change the map out of pity, but Yan confidently declines, stating the current setting is perfectly fine. Yan activates his stealth skill, his body blurring and then vanishing completely into the environment. Wei Kai stands ready in the open field, his eyes scanning the swaying grass for any hint of his opponent's position. The berserker is confident he can track Yan by the movement of the grass, waiting for the slightest ripple to reveal him. Suddenly, a strong gust of wind sweeps across the plains, masking the sound and movement of anything else on the field. Yan moves with the wind, using the natural disturbance to perfectly hide his tracks from the searching berserker. Wei Kai begins to sweat as the wind picks up, realizing he has completely lost track of where Yan could be. He lashes out with a blind swing, hopping to catch the invisible thief, but his sword only cuts through empty air. He is genuinely impressed and terrified, having never seen someone utilize stealth and the environment with such masterful skill. Yan waits patiently in the tall grass just behind his target, timing his strike for the next natural gust of wind. Wei Kai tries to convince himself that the kid must be moving slowly and must still be somewhere in front of him. The wind blows again, and Yan pounces from the shadows, his blade finding an opening in Wei Kai's defense. The berserker takes a heavy hit, shock registered on his face as he wonders when his opponent managed to get behind him. The muscle-bound man immediately swung his greatsword to counterattack, but Yan had already jumped back in time to dodge. Desperate to reclaim the momentum, Wei Kai unleashes a powerful whirlwind slash, his greatsword spinning in a wide arc. Yan easily reads the attack, noting that the heavy weapon leaves a 1-second delay after the skill is cast. He sees that delay as his definite key to victory, positioning himself to exploit the berserker's momentary vulnerability. As Wei Kai's sword slows down, Yan strikes, certain that now is his best chance to end the match. He moves through the field like a blur, his speed far exceeding what should be possible for a level 2 player. Na Yan triggers Vital Strike, a high-damage ability that strikes right at Wei Kai's weakest point. The spectators are stunned into silence, amazed by the perfect timing and execution displayed by the supposed underdog. Wei Kai screams in pain as the massive hit connects, his HP plummeting toward the danger zone. With his health critically low, the berserker is driven into a frantic rage, unwilling to lose to someone he considers beneath him. He charges his final attack, Flame Slash, screaming for Na Yan to just die as he brings down his burning blade. Tang Yao shouts for Na Yan to get out of the way. Wei Kai is trying to force a gap with a Flame Slash, but Na Yan knows staying close is his only advantage as a thief. The blade connects, tearing a chunk out of his health bar. Wei Kai laughs, calling him arrogant for trying to tank a direct hit. The berserker winds up for a massive one-strike slash. A red arc of energy cuts through the air. The crowd thinks it's over, knowing that a successful charge will stun the thief and end the fight. Somehow, Na Yan ducks right under the swing at point-blank range. He knows the charge distance is shorter than his dagger's reach. This is his chance. A quick counterstrike catches the warrior off guard. The impact sends a shockwave through the field. Wei Kai's health hits 0 instantly. Na Yan slides back, barely maintaining his stance after taking the initial blow. The victory screen pops up, leaving the thief as the last one standing. The crowd is stunned. A level 2 thief just took down a level 3 berserker. Back in reality, Wei Kai stares at his helmet in disbelief. Tang Yao rushes over to celebrate, but Na Yan just shrugs it off as a fluke. His friend is convinced he's a pro and begs for arcane mage tips. Wei Kai approaches the two of them. Surprisingly, he takes the loss like a man, and even invites them to his bar later. He turns to leave with his crew. His subordinate is confused by the kindness, but Wei Kai warns him that the kid is dangerous and shouldn't be an enemy. Na Yan promises to help his buddy out once they're back in the game. Later that night, the grind doesn't stop. Na Yan hits the floor for some sit-ups, realizing that a strong character needs a strong pilot. He pushes through a set of push-ups. After working up a sweat, he gets ready to dive back into conviction. He slides the helmet on and initiates the login. Digital fragments coalesce as he manifests back into the world. A friend request from Ezzy pings on his interface. A message from Flying Stone arrives with the payment for the walkthrough he provided earlier. He accepts the request, figuring he can carry his friend through the Treant Forest later. But first, he has a hidden quest to turn in. He finds Physician Blevins and hands over the fine silks he gathered. The old man is impressed and offers to teach him a special skill as a reward. A prompt asks if he wants to learn intermediate combat bandage. Na Yan accepts immediately. This was exactly what he came for. The skill allows him to restore 20 health over 10 seconds, even while in combat. The quest isn't over yet, sitting at only 20% completion. He realizes this is a rare chain quest. Blevins asks for even more silk, and Na Yan is more than happy to oblige. A system notification pings on Na Yan's screen. A pink-haired girl tells him the group is ready, and Na Yan says he's on his way. He plans to farm some rare items in the Treant Forest to complete a high-level chain quest. Over at the Track Town teleport point, Tang Yao is already there, wondering where his friend is. Na Yan shows up and tells him they're going after the Treant King today. They approach a large group of players waiting for them. Yu Lan and Yao Yao wave them over. Tang Yao's jaw drops at how attractive the girls are. The girl tells Na Yan she had a tough time convincing Yu Lan to let him lead. A thief named Chen Bo scoffs, clearly not happy about the newcomer. Na Yan gives a simple greeting, but Yu Lan can already tell he's the real deal by his calm vibe. Na Yan gets straight to the point. He's confident, but only if he's the captain and everyone follows his orders. The other members aren't so sure about this. Chen Bo barks back, asking why they should listen to an outsider who might get them all killed. Yu Lan snaps at Chen Bo, reminding him they already agreed to the terms. She apologizes to Na Yan for her teammates' attitude. Na Yan doesn't budge. It's his way or the highway, and anyone who isn't down can leave right now. A system prompt appears as he forms the team. The players start joining one by one. Yulan makes it clear, if anyone tries to sabotage the run, they're kicked for good. Chen Bo reluctantly joins up, still looking sour. To settle the nerves, Yan offers a deal. If they wipe because of his mistakes, he'll pay everyone 10 silver coins. The group is stunned. 10 silver is a massive fortune at their level. Yulan and Yao Yao are impressed by how bold he's being. Yan starts the prep by having everyone report their names and stats. A tanky warrior reports in first. The rest of the mages and warriors follow suit. Yan tells them all to go buy specific haste and strength potions. The mages start complaining about the cost, worried they won't even break even. Chen Bo mocks him, saying that buying all these potions is just a waste of money. Tang Yao fires back, offering to lend him some cash if he's too broke to afford them. The two start getting into a heated shouting match. Yao Yao asks if they really need this much for a normal run, but Yan just tells her to trust him. He drops the bombshell. They aren't doing the normal dungeon, they're going for expert difficulty. Yulan gives the final word and tells everyone to gear up exactly how Yan said. With everyone ready, the team heads out of the city gates. They arrive at the dense, misty entrance of the Treant Forest. Yan tells the group to hang back while he activates the entrance. He finds the ancient stone tablet hidden among the trees. Ancient text begins to glow as he interacts with it. He mutters about the dark elves as the portal to the forest finally opens. Yan stares at the difficulty selection screen. Without a second thought, he selects expert mode. A surge of energy teleports the entire team into the dungeon. The system title card for the Treant Forest appears. A notification confirms they've entered at expert difficulty. The team panics, realizing they're in way over their heads. Yulan realizes Yan did this on purpose. Chen Bo loses it, accusing Yan of sabotaging the run to make them lose XP. Yan isn't bothered. He tells the coward he's free to leave whenever he wants. Yao Yao steps in, telling Chen Bo that Yan is her guest and he needs to stop the constant targeting. Chen Bo tries to save face, claiming he has no personal problem with her. But inside, he's fuming that she's defending an outsider over him. Yan breaks it down. It's just 30% more HP and more coordination. Nothing impossible. Yulan still wonders where his massive ego is coming from. Yao Yao asks if he's truly sure, and Yan tells her to just relax. Chen Bo watches the back of Yan's head, hoping he fails. The group moves deeper into the eerie, vine-covered woods. Suddenly, Yan senses an attack and tells everyone to scatter. Massive roots whip out from the earth. Chen Bo is caught off guard and gets completely wrapped up. He struggles as the vines tighten their grip. A towering tree appears, ready to crush its prey. The monster squeezes the life out of the thief. Chen Bo screams for Yan to save him. Another Treant joins the attack from the shadows. Yan doesn't hesitate, shouting orders for the mages to unleash everything. The shield warriors rush forward to create a wall. One of the tanks braces for impact as a vine slams into his shield. Spells fly from the backline, hitting the monster with everything they've got. A blast of energy explodes against the Treant's trunk. The vines are severed, sending Chen Bo crashing to the ground. He immediately blames Yan, accusing him of seeing the trap and not warning him. Yan points out that even the warriors dodged it. His failure is his own fault. Tang Yao laughs, saying any random player would be a better thief than this guy. Yulan tells Chen Bo he's embarrassed himself enough for one day. Yan decides to take point and clear the way properly. The team picks up the pace, rushing through the forest. They keep a tight formation as they run. Yan spots a massive log trap and tells everyone to stay back. He leaps into the air with incredible speed. Mid-air, he skillfully cuts through a series of tripwires. He looks back, making the expert-level maneuvers look like child's play. Yan continues his run, slicing through forest traps with surgical precision. Watching from the sidelines, Tang Yao is visibly shaken by Na Yan's fluid mastery of the thief class. Yu Lan and the rest of the party can only stare in awe at his efficiency. Driven by jealousy, Chen Bo tries to show off, claiming he can clear traps just as easily. He recklessly charges forward, his boot coming down hard on a hidden pressure plate. In an instant, lethal spikes erupt from the ground, catching the arrogant thief in a deadly snare. Panic sets in as Chen Bo realizes he has no way to dodge the killing blow. Just before the spikes can claim him, a strong hand catches his arm and yanks him back. He is thrown unceremoniously to the safety of the dirt, gasping for air. Na Yan looks down at him with cold indifference, calling him out for his amateurish mistakes. Humiliated, Chen Bo lashes out, accusing Na Yan of deliberately leading him into the trap. Tang Yao steps forward, furious that someone would bite the hand that just saved their life. Na Yan doesn't flinch, stating plainly that Chen Bo is simply unworthy of his class. Blinded by rage, Chen Bo draws his blade and challenges Na Yan to a 1v1 duel. He lunges at the silver-haired thief, his movements sloppy and predictable. Na Yan effortlessly shuts down the attack, mockingly suggesting Chen Bo bring friends next time. The thief stands frozen, stunned by the sheer gap in their power. Yu Lan and Yao Yao quickly intervene, expressing their deep disappointment in Chen Bo's behavior. Desperate, Chen Bo tries to play the outsider card to turn his old teammates against Na Yan. To his shock, even the team's tank tells him to shut up and stop the senseless targeting. Realizing he's lost his standing, Chen Bo lets out a bitter, mocking laugh before deciding he's done. A system notification chimes as Chen Bo leaves the party and vanishes into the dark woods. Yao Yao offers a sincere apology for the drama, but Na Yan is glad to be rid of the dead weight. Looking ahead, Na Yan resolves that he will eventually need to handpick his own elite squad. Yu Lan calls for focus. They still have a dungeon to clear and time is of the essence. 30 minutes later, the group reaches a dense part of the forest blocked by 18 treants. Yu Lan is hesitant to engage such a large group, but Na Yan has already formulated a plan. He positions himself high above the forest floor, scouting the enemy formation from a branch. The team watches from below, unsure of what their new leader is planning. Na Yan draws his specialized hand crossbow, a tool perfect for high-level pulling. With a confident smirk, he prepares to show them the art of god-tier monster management. Na Yan pulls out a 3-shot hand crossbow and fires without hesitation. The arrows split midair, striking 3 separate points deep in the forest. Boiled Water and the others watch in shock, wondering if he just messed up his shot. Na Yan doesn't miss a beat, barking out specific coordinates for Boiled Water to hold. The arrows did exactly what they were supposed to, waking up a large group of treants. The monsters roar and start swarming toward the team's position. Yao Yao is speechless. Using a 3-shot crossbow to pull aggro like that is legendary. Yu Lan asks where she found this guy, realizing that luring 18 treants at once takes insane precision. She stares at him, finally seeing that Nirvana Flame is on a completely different level. The treants crash into their line, swinging their heavy branches with massive force. Na Yan keeps his cool, telling Boiled Water to steady his center of gravity while the others focus fire. He leaps into the fray, his strikes glowing with a burst of electric energy. Boiled Water braces behind his shield, amazed that Na Yan's advice is actually making the blocks easier. Yu Lan and the priestess provide cover, telling the tank to hang on while they move to support. A massive shockwave ripples through the woods as they clash with the timber beasts. They take down the first few, the giant trees crumbling into piles of wood. As the dust settles, a golden glow catches their eye from the remains. Yu Lan picks up a pair of bronze-grade gauntlets, stunned that expert difficulty drops loot this easily. Yao Yao asks how he pulled that off, and Na Yan just gives a confident smirk. He tells them to keep the momentum going, so they can clear the rest of the forest. He fires again, expertly pulling the next wave of monsters into their trap. They carve through the treants, the forest floor filling with debris. Na Yan moves like a shadow, taking down targets with ruthless efficiency while the girls watch in awe. 20 minutes later, the team takes a breather, surrounded by the spoils of a successful run. Deep in the dark woods, the atmosphere shifts as they head into uncharted territory. Na Yan looks ahead, focused on the goal he's been aiming for since they entered. He tells everyone to rest for a bit, promising that the real rewards are still waiting for them. Instead of following the main path, Na Yan points toward the west. Yu Lan hesitates, remembering that way is a dead end, but Na Yan tells them to just trust him. He knows exactly what he's doing, heading for a hidden storyline no one else has discovered. A faint flute melody drifts through the trees, making the group stop in their tracks. They spot a figure sitting on a rock in the distance, the Treant herder Pat. The old man sits alone, playing a somber tune for the forest he used to guard. He tells them of a time when Treants and humans lived side by side in peace. Everything changed when dark cultists appeared, bringing a corruption that poisoned the woods. The Treants lost their minds, turning into mindless killers that slaughtered everyone in sight. The Council of Elders eventually stepped in, planning a crusade to stop the Treant king. Pat warns them to leave before nightfall, when the monsters become even more powerful. Na Yan bows respectfully, explaining that they're here to take down the Treants and restore order. The old man's face contorts with rage as he mentions the beasts who stole his flute. Yu Lan and Yao Yao can't believe their eyes. He's actually triggering a hidden quest. Tang Yao watches his friend in disbelief, wondering when Na Yan became such a monster in this game. Na Yan explains that triggering this hidden quest is their only shot at taking down the expert-grade Treant king. Pat is shocked the young rogue actually spotted the dark elves who have been causing all this chaos. The old herder hands over some dust of appearance, telling them they must reclaim his stolen flute. It's a specialized consumable that reveals any hidden enemies in the immediate area. With the special item in hand, Na Yan signals the rest of the team to follow him. He grabs onto a thick vine to begin his descent into the ravine below. He slides down with ease, leading the way into the shadows. Yao Yao asks if he can actually track down those elves, and he's 100% sure he can. The dead forest looms under a cold, full moon as the team pushes deeper into the unknown. The group traverses a narrow stone ledge, with the drop-off disappearing into the pitch black. Na Yan stops the group right in their tracks, declaring that they've got their targets cornered. Yao Yao is confused how he's so certain, but he knows they've been stalked since they first entered. Suddenly, she gasps as she senses something cold and malevolent nearby. Dark smoke begins to swirl around them. The hidden stalkers have finally decided to reveal themselves. Na Yan and Yu Lan crouch in the shadows of the cave. He explains that these two dark elves are skittish, so they have to take them down in one clean move before they can bolt. A dark, mist-like shadow creeps across the rocky floor as one of the elves wanders past their hiding spot. The entire team waits in silence further down the passage, watching the faint outlines move toward the trap. Na Yan lunges forward and tosses the revealing dust. They took the bait perfectly. The shimmering powder coats the air, forcing the invisible stalkers to show their forms. Two puny dark elves are suddenly caught in the open, looking completely panicked now that their cover is blown. One of the elves lets out a desperate roar as it tries to find an escape route. Tang Yao and Boiled Water step out to block the path. Tang Yao grins, asking them exactly where they think they're going. Backed into a corner, one of the elves lunges at Tang Yao with its claws bared. Boiled Water steps in to tank the blow, while Tang Yao starts mana-charging a spell. Tang Yao channels a massive swirl of fire between his palms. The fireball slams into the dark elf, lighting it up as it screams in pain. Yu Lan draws her sword and rallies the rest of the group to jump in and finish the job. The skirmish turns into a chaotic brawl. Na Yan spots the item they're looking for hanging from one of the elves' belts. The remaining elf lashes out wildly, but Na Yan is already moving in for the kill. The elf resisted in desperation, but Na Yan easily dodged the attack. Na Yan delivers a clean slash, landing a vital hit that drains a huge chunk of the elf's health. The rest of the team unloads their skills, overwhelming the two elves in a flurry of blades and magic. With the enemies down, Yan reaches for the glowing loot left on the ground. He's got it. Yan holds up a golden, ornate flute. This was the key to clearing the dungeon. It's Ian Pat's flute, a quest item that significantly nerfs Trient-type creatures and gives the user a big health boost. Yao Yao calls Yan over, pointing out that there's something else hidden in the grass. He picks up a weathered piece of parchment. It's not just loot, it's a letter. This triggers a branching storyline, a secret message warning of a Drow tribe counterattack on the Hilton fortress. Yulan stares at the letter, unable to read the elvish text. Yan tells her it's a special quest they can turn in once the forest is cleared. The other teammates are pumped. Finding a hidden quest like this was a total surprise. Yan hands the flute to Boiled Water. Since he's the main tank, he needs the extra HP to face the Trient King. Boiled Water is stunned. With 300 extra health, he's not even afraid of the boss anymore. The team moves out, but Tang Yao stays behind for a second, noticing how everyone's attitude toward Yan has flipped. Tang Yao smiles to himself, proud that his friend is finally showing these guys what he's capable of. Yan leads the way deeper into the forest, his cloak fluttering behind him as they approach the end. A heavy rumble shakes the ground, and smoke rises from the dense tree line ahead. They start cutting through the remaining treants, clearing the path with rapid strikes and coordinated magic. A massive, twisted root erupts from the earth, signaling that the big one has finally arrived. Boiled Water admires his new bronze round shield. It's leagues better than anything he's ever ground for before. Yulan hesitates before asking Yan if she can buy the shield from him, knowing he was the one who led them to it. She figures with gear like this, her team might actually stand a chance in higher dungeons on their own. Yan tells her to just take it. He's only here for thief equipment and a specific jewel the boss drops. Yao Yao is grateful but feels bad about him taking such a loss on the loot. She thanks him sincerely. The ground cracks open as a colossal branch smashes down, shattering the terrain around them. An explosion of dust and debris clears to reveal the massive guardian of the forest. Everyone braces themselves. Yan shouts for the team to pay attention and set up their formation immediately. He tells the shield warriors to move to the front. Emerging from the fog is the Trient King, a level 4 Lord-grade boss with 10,000 health. The real fight starts now. The Trient King towers over them, screaming about damn humans daring to set foot in its territory. It's not exactly a warm welcome. The massive beast slams its vine-covered arms down, shouting for them to go to hell as it tries to crush Yan. Yan is a blur of movement, leaping over a massive root sweep with insane agility. The guy's reactions are on another level. He backflips away from another strike, landing perfectly on his feet without breaking a sweat. The priestess is completely floored. She can't believe a level 2 thief is handling a level 4 Lord-grade monster like it's a tutorial boss. Yan snaps everyone back to reality, ordering Boiled Water to take the aggro while the mages keep their distance. He's taking full command of the raid. Boiled Water charges in and lands a hit, but the boss's defense is so high he barely scratches it. This is going to be a long fight. The mages open fire, sending bolts of magic flying toward the giant tree from all sides. The entire team surrounds the Trient King, unloading their best skills to chip away at its massive health pool. A massive explosion rocks the clearing, but the damage numbers popping up are still depressingly low. Fire and smoke fill the air as the team pushes their offensive as hard as they can. The boss retaliates with a heavy blow that sends Boiled Water's health plummeting. Yan screams for him to use the flute right now. Boiled Water manages to blow the flute through the chaos. Hopping the buff is as good as Yan said. The flute's magic kicks in, surrounding the Trient King in a green aura that slashes its stats by half. Now they have a real fighting chance. Yan orders the mages to focus strictly on fire spells. He knows the boss has massive ice resistance, so anything else is just a waste of mana. Tang Yao steps up with a confident smirk. Fire spells are his specialty, and he's ready to turn this tree into kindling. Yan pulls the priestess aside to check if she has the dispel skill. She's a bit shaky, but nods that she does. He warns her that the boss is about to use a fear spell. If boiled water gets hit, she has to cleanse him the exact second it happens. Na Yan tells her to just relax and wait for his signal. He's got the timing down perfectly. The Trient King unleashes a wave of dark green energy. It's the fear spell, and it hits the front line like a physical wave. Boiled water is hit hard, his movements stuttering as the CC takes hold. Na Yan bellows for the cleanse. The priestess channels her staff, releasing a burst of golden light to break the curse. Boiled water snaps out of it instantly, raising his shield just in time. Na Yan calls it a perfect cleanse. The priestess is genuinely surprised and relieved that she actually pulled it off under all that pressure. The team doubles down on the attack, hitting the boss with everything they've got. The Trient King lets out an earth-shaking roar as its health drops below 3,000. It's hurting now. The boss turns a dark, menacing shade as it enters its enrage phase. Na Yan warns everyone to brace themselves. It's about to get ugly. Yulan grinds her teeth, shocked that this thing even has an enrage mechanic. She wasn't prepared for the boss to get faster and stronger. Na Yan barks out orders for boiled water to switch to a full defensive stance. He needs to survive the next few seconds at all costs. He tells the healers to start chugging their mana pots and spamming heals non-stop. They can't let the tank's health dip for even a second. The mages and priests are in high gear, their hands glowing as they dump every bit of mana into keeping the raid alive. The Trient King slams into Boiled Water's shield with a crushing blow that almost knocks him back. Boiled Water is barely holding on, his arms shaking from the sheer force of the attack. He doesn't know how much longer he can tank this. Waves of healing magic wash over him, keeping his health bar from hitting 0 by just a sliver. He digs his heels in and blocks another massive swipe, the impact echoing through the clearing. Boiled Water realizes that if it weren't for the perfect heals and that flute, he'd have been a goner 3 attacks ago. He quickly downs a health potion, finally understanding why Na Yan insisted they stock up on supplies before entering. The enraged Trient King gathers its power for one final, desperate flurry of attacks. The ground shatters as the boss's roots smash down, but the tank is still standing in the middle of the debris. Na Yan calls for a final push. The boss is at death's door, and they just need one good burst to finish it off. Yulan and the other melee fighters unleash their strongest skills, Holy Light Slash and Heroic Strike connecting at the same time. A blinding surge of magic slams into the Trient King as the entire team unloads every last bit of their power. This is it. Na Yan lunges forward for the finishing blow, his blade glowing with lethal energy. This is the moment they've been working for. The Trient King is completely exposed, its massive form unable to defend against the thief's lightning-fast strike. Vital Strike, Na Yan plunges his blade home, dealing a massive finishing blow that finally empties the boss's health bar. The giant tree lord lets out one final, agonizing roar as it begins to crumble from the inside out. In a spectacular explosion of green light and splintering wood, the Trient King is finally defeated. A heavy silence falls over the clearing as the smoke clears. The team stands in shock, barely able to process that they actually cleared an expert dungeon boss. Yao Yao and the others are breathless. She never thought this ragtag party could actually pull off a victory against a Lord-grade enemy. Boiled Water and the priestess are already praising Na Yan. They know they would have been wiped out 10 times over if it wasn't for his perfect shot calling. Shafts of golden light descend as the massive XP reward hits the party. Everyone's levels are jumping up after taking down such a powerful boss. Na Yan ignores the celebration for a moment, walking toward the shimmering loot left in the boss's wake. He finally found it. He holds up a glowing amber gemstone, the Featherfall jewel. All that effort and planning was worth it just for this one legendary drop. A dark gold quality accessory with no level requirements. This is a holy grail item for a thief, providing insane stat boosts and a unique weight reduction effect. Na Yan just hit the jackpot.